Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again for joining us for another episode for curve sketching and transformations. And today we're looking at quadratic graphs, okay, also known as parabolas. Okay, now the format, the extended format that we know them to be given as is usually this format. So we are going to dwell on just two of those letters, this letter here and this letter here, and what they tell us. So the letter A tells us whether the graph is going to be a smiley or a frowny face. And then the C, again, is going to be the y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to look at all the cases that have to do with that theme. If A is positive, then our graph is going to be a smiley face. Think of yourself as being positive. You are smiling. And if A is negative, then our graph is going to be a frowny face like that. It's like an upside down smile, okay? And if we know about the y-intercept, that if C is positive, then it means that we're looking at being above the x-axis, right? And then if C is negative, we're looking at being below the x-axis, okay? Right, so we'll look at all the cases that have to do with that now. A positive, C positive. I'm not going to place the y because we do not have what the solutions of the roots are. So because it's positive, A is positive, it means it's a smiley face, but the smiley face is above the x-axis, okay? My apologies there. And A is positive, C is negative, like that. Notice how here we have no solutions, because they do not meet anyway. That's what solutions are. Solutions are where two graphs meet. And then here we have two solutions. Okay? So A is negative and C is positive. Okay, so that means that we have a frowny face. But because it's C is positive, it has to cut the y above the x-axis. Okay, and here again we have two solutions. Right, and we have A negative, C negative, then in this case we have no solutions. Something else is super duper important, just like we pointed out in the previous video for linear. This tells us two things: that we have two solutions, or we expect to find two solutions, okay, and that the graph must cross at least twice, otherwise it will not cross. Okay, so there's two solutions right there, and that's your quadratic, and it can be expressed in a couple of different formats, which you may have seen before. Some of them are used to be able to find, for example, the turning points of your graph. But one thing that's important you need to understand is that a hyperbolic graph is symmetric, okay? Which means that if I have A and B, then this point is going to be midway between A and B, okay? So you can find it by merely say, oh, I know where it's cutting at A and it's cutting at B, so therefore that point occurs at A plus B divided by 2, because that's how we find the midpoint between two given numbers. We add the two numbers and divide by 2, and then so that gives you the x coordinate for the midpoint, and then you then input that into the equation to then find the y coordinate. Okay, so that's important to know, that it's going to be perfectly symmetrical, but it's perfectly symmetrical about the turning point right there. Okay, and at the same time, how do we find the turning point? Usually you're going to be given a format of your quadratic equation that is of this format. Right? This is where your transformations come in. Okay, so you're starting off with your f of x being equals to x squared. Okay, and then the first thing we want to do is to have the first transformation is f of x minus p. This will give us x minus p squared. The second transformation is going to be multiplying by a outside, which will give us that right there. And then the third transformation is going to be adding a q outside. This will then give us what we eventually have there. So that's like 3 transformations right there. Okay, let's look at them in more detail. Right, so the first one means that we're moving the graph to the right. So as we're moving p units to the right. Okay, and the next one, because we're multiplying by a, means that we're stretching graph by a units. And the last one, because it's a plus q outside of the our brackets, it means that we are translating our graph q units upwards. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is it for quadratic or parabola type of graphs. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give us any feedback in the comment section, and we'll get right back to you. Thank you very much.